Ever feel like you're running on empty, chasing something you just can't quite name? Like your life's a radio stuck on static and you can't find the clear station? That's not a lack of something's out there. That's your inner self trying to get your attention. We're drilled to go, get, grab. But what if the real power isn't in getting more, but in letting go, just for a bit, that quiet space? It's not about what you're missing, it's about what you finally get to hear. This idea of stepping back, of abstinence, it's not about locking yourself away, it's about unlocking something deep inside. It's the secret to letting your body quiet down so your soul can finally get a word in. Now, when I say abstinence, I know what pops into your head: sacrifice, what you can't have, what you're giving up. But for anyone serious about mastering their own life, abstinence isn't a barren wasteland. It's a powerhouse. It's not about something disappearing, it's about redirecting everything. Every bit of your focus, every breath, every flicker of desire, instead of scattering it outwards, you pull it back in. And when you do that, man, something shifts. The noise dies down, the chaos settles, and that quiet voice inside you, the one that knows things, it gets louder. Think about it this way: ancient wisdom from east to west tells us energy isn't meant to be wasted, it's meant to be transformed. Your body, your mind, your spirit, they're all connected, one flowing system. What you consciously hold back in one area, it fuels another. So, when we choose to abstain, not because we're scared or ashamed, but because we're smart, we start to build up this core life energy. The Chinese call it qi or qi. This power, when it's not frittered away on every impulse or emotional whim, it gathers. And where does it go? It starts reinforcing your inner framework, your awareness, your clarity, your sheer presence. Abstinence becomes the very forge where your focus gets sharpened. Picture a wild, overflowing river, just spilling everywhere, no direction. That's how a lot of folks live. Non-stop stimulation, always looking for the next thing, jumping into stuff without a pause. But what if you built a dam, a channel for that river? Suddenly, it's got force, it can spin turbines, it can generate real power. It's the exact same with your desires. Channel them, guide them with wisdom, and they don't disappear, they become willpower, they become presence. I remember this guy, late 50s, spent his whole adult life chasing one relationship after another. Told me he'd been married 3 times. And in between, he's never let himself be alone. Always had to have someone, looking for that validation, that connection. But he hit a wall. It all felt hollow. One day just beat. He said to me, "I don't even know what I want anymore. I just know how to chase. I've never actually just been." So, he did something extreme for him. A full year of total abstinence. No dating, no intimacy, no emotional drama. More importantly, no seeking. He said at first the quiet was deafening. Like cutting the music at a party where he'd been dancing blind for years. But in that quiet, things started to change. He noticed his breath, felt his feet on the floor, and for the first time, he could hear his own thoughts, not the ones pushed by desire, but the real ones. That year flipped his life. Not because he got something new, but because he found what was buried inside him all along: his strength, his judgment, his boundaries. He told me later, "Now I can love from a place of being full, not from hunger." That's changed everything. That's the core of it: abstinence as energy redirection. You're not starving your life, you're fortifying your soul. And get this, science is catching up. Our habits, emotional ones included, carve deep grooves in our brain's reward system. Act on a desire, get a pleasure hit, the brain wires that connection. But when you consciously step back, especially from stuff that's become compulsive, something amazing happens. Your brain starts to rewire. It's called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change. Abstinence gives your brain's reward pathways a chance to reset. That dopamine system, the thing driving cravings and impulsiveness, it chills out. The result, better impulse control, sharper thinking, more emotional stability. Monks figured out through a meditation. Neuroscience now showing us on a brain scan. Why does this matter for relationships? Simple. When your own internal world is calm, your presence deepens. And presence, my friends, is the bedrock of real intimacy. Not touch, not words, not even so-called chemistry. Presence. When you're settled inside, your partner feels safe. When you're not looking for them to fill your gaps, you can meet as equals, not as two people tangled up in need. Seen this way, abstinence isn't about rejecting connection, it's about refining yourself. It's choosing to get your inner house in order before you invite someone in. And when you do that, you become magnetic, not in some shallow, pick-up artist way, but like a mountain is magnetic, strong, still, centered. There's an old Taoist tale. A young student was obsessed with a village girl, totally consumed by his desire. His master saw he was distracted, took him to a well. "Look in," the master said. "What do you see?" "My reflection," said the student. The master tossed in a pebble. No what? Nothing. Just waves. The master smiled. That's your mind lost in desire, agitated, unclear. Wait. They waited, the water stilled. My reflections back. The master put a hand on his shoulder. Abstinence isn't about crushing desire. It's about stilling the mind so you can see yourself clearly. Only then do you know if what you're chasing is real love or just an illusion. Timeless, right? Without inner stillness, we're just guessing at what we want. And our relationships, they just reflect our own confusion. When your body's always moving, chasing, reacting, there's no room for your soul to whisper its truth. But when you consciously bring stillness, when you manage your desires with wisdom, not force, something incredible happens. Your soul starts talking through feelings, through your breath, through gut instinct. You start to feel when someone's genuine, when their words don't match their vibe. You sense undercurrents you were blind to before. This isn't psychic power, it's sensitivity. And sensitivity isn't weakness, it's a sharper kind of intelligence. It lets you navigate relationships with skill, to know when someone's hurting without them saying a word, to know when to speak up and when to just be quiet. You can only get to this level of tuning in when your own inner world isn't a constant racket. I knew this woman, 40s, just ended a long relationship, drained, didn't know who she was anymore, decided on 6 months of emotional abstinence, not just no sex but a total break from romantic or emotionally heavy stuff, no dating apps, no late night texts, no replaying old dramas. She turned inward, journaling, breathwork, walks without earbuds, just learning to be with herself. Said it felt like withdrawal at first, like a missing part of her. But slowly, she realized she wasn't addicted to love, she was addicted to the distraction. The distraction of someone else's approval, the comfort of not facing her own emptiness. In the quiet, her creativity came back, her laugh came back. She wrote to me, I thought I lost myself in the relationship. Truth is, I never really met myself until now. That's the power abstinence unlocks. When the noise stops, what you find isn't emptiness, it's feiyu. Psychology calls this introspection, being aware of your internal state. People who mindfully practice abstinence often get way better at this. They feel their breath, their heartbeat, their energy shifts. And with that awareness comes emotional control. You notice anxiety bubbling up before it boils over. You feel that tightness in your chest before the argument explodes. You respond instead of just reacting. And in relationships, that creates safety and respect. Abstinence then is like emotional hygiene. Just like we fast to rest the body, we abstain to give the heart space to clear out old disappointments, lingering attachments, unconscious habits. And this space, it's not empty, it's sacred. It's where your inner compass gets reset. In Eastern medicine, the kidneys are seen as holding our core life force, our willpower, our stamina. Constant indulgence, especially scattered sexual energy, is thought to drain this. But periods of conscious abstinence, they replenish the kidneys. Your will gets strong again, and from that strength comes clarity, not just about others, but about your own damn purpose. So, what's the practical takeaway? When you find yourself always needing someone else's attention to feel okay, hit pause. When you're constantly seeking touch, talk, or connection just to dodge loneliness, pause. When your desire feels frantic, when your mind spirals into, what if they leave? Or, am I not enough? Just pause, not to beat yourself up, but to listen. Because under all that urgency, there's often a quieter truth, a need that no one outside you can fill. When the body is still, the soul starts to whisper, you're already complete. You don't need to be needed to be valuable. You get to choose when and how you give your energy. You can love without losing yourself. This is where abstinence becomes freedom, not from others, but from being dependent on them. It opens up a space where love can be an offering, not a desperate grab. And as we move from this idea of redirecting energy, something else clicks into place. The stillness of your body unlocks the language of your soul. You start to see that silence isn't empty, it's presence cranked up. To live in presence isn't to hide from life, it's to dive in fully, without fighting it, without distorting it, and without the chaos of your emotions running the show. Presence is the discipline of being totally where you are. It's that quiet skill of anchoring your attention, not letting it get yanked around by memories, worries, or every shiny object out there. And hey, presence isn't just for gurus. It's vital in every relationship, every chat, every moment a human heart wants to be truly understood. Presence isn't a show you put on, it's a vibe. When someone's truly present with you, you feel it. Their eyes aren't flitting around. Their breath is calm. Their whole system isn't jumpy or needy. It's open, still. In their presence, you don't feel judged, and you don't feel invisible. You feel seen. This isn't magic, it's biology. Your nervous system is constantly scanning for safety. It's called neuroception, happens below thought. The second you walk into a room, meet someone, hear a tone of voice, your body knows whether to relax or tense up. When you're present, your breath slows, your shoulders drop, your voice evens out. You're not stuck in the past or stressed about the future. In this state, your rest and digest, nervous system kicks in. It signals to your body and to others, it's safe here. In relationships, presence is the invisible glue holding trust together. It's not how clever you are or how deep your feelings run that makes someone feel secure. It's how regulated your own inner state is. When your nervous system is calm, others feel it. And that feeling, that embodied safety, is what lets people open up, be vulnerable, and connect for real. I heard this story from a therapist who worked with couples on the brink. One pair married 20 years, totally disconnected. The wife said, "Has never really with me. Even when we talk." The husband all defensive. "But IVM here!" "I come home, I ask about your day. What more do you want?" The therapist didn't give advice. She had them try something. For 5 minutes, she said, "No talking, just face each other, be truly present, no fixing, no proving, no performing." They agreed, stiff at first. But as the quiet settled, something changed. His posture softened, her breathing slowed, tears in her eyes. Timer goes off. She whispered, This is what I've been missing, not your words, you." That's the difference between just being in the same room and actual emotional presence. One touches the body, the other touches the soul. But presence doesn't just happen. You cultivate it, you protect it, and often it's born from abstinence, not always from people, but from distractions, the constant phone checking, the urge to always voice an opinion, the craving for endless stimulation. Real presence shows up when we make space inside, when we abstain from the mental chatter long enough for stillness to feel normal. In martial arts, they train students to control their breath before they even learn a strike. Why? Breath is life. It's the bridge between your conscious and unconscious mind. Shallow breath, anxious mind. Deep, steady breath, anchored mind. This isn't just for fighting, it's for conflict. In relationships, every argument is a breath test. Every tension is a chance to stay centered or get knocked off balance. Try this next time you're about to blow up. Pause. Take one slow, full breath in through your nose. Feel it fill your belly, not just your chest. Hold it, let it out slow. Ask yourself, am I about to speak to connect or to control? Often that one breath is the difference between reacting and responding, between hurting someone and understanding them. Modern science backs up ancient wisdom here. Conscious breathing fires up the vagus nerve, a big player in your calming system. It slows your heart rate, cuts stress hormones, and actually makes you more empathetic. When you're calm, you see nuance. You sense the feelings under someone's words. You respond from wisdom, not from your old wounds. Presence has a posture too. Your body tells a story your mind can't fake. Spine upright, chest open, shoulders relaxed. That signals confidence and openness. Not arrogance, not being a doormat, but a kind of natural dignity. This posture isn't for show, it's a message to your own nervous system. I'm grounded, I'm safe. Others pick up on this, especially kids, especially partners who've been hurt. They just know if you're really with them. A teacher of mine used to say, how you sit at the dinner table is how you sit in life. Meaning, your body shows your mind. Slouched, fidgety, scrolling, tense, your mind's not calm. Body grounded, alert but easy, mind's likely clear. That's why posture and breath aren't small details. They're gateways to deeper presence, and presence is the doorway to connection. Now, let's look at another key piece: building your emotional muscle through abstinence. Just like your body gets stronger with resistance training, your emotional self gets stronger with intentional restraint. Every time you choose not to lash out, not to cave to an unhealthy habit for comfort, not to chase something, you're strengthening your emotional core. And like physical strength, emotional strength isn't always visible, but it's always felt. There's this idea that emotional freedom is doing whatever you feel. Wrong. That's emotional prison. To be emotionally free isn't to act on every feeling, but to be aware of them, to sit with them, and to choose a smart response. This is where abstinence becomes a discipline of the heart, not just the body. A young woman told me about her heartbreak. Got ghosted by a guy she thought was serious. Storm of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion, longing. Her first instinct: call him, confront him, post vague stuff online. But something stopped her. She remembered a teaching: don't make a move until the water's clear. So she sat, she wrote, she cried, she breathed. She watched the emotional waves inside her. After a few days, the urge to reach out vanished. What was left? Self-respect, clarity. She saw her pain was real, but it didn't have to control her. That choice not to act on impulse, that's emotional muscle. It's top-tier strength. In relationships, this strength is crucial. Love without discipline turns into attachment. Attachment unchecked becomes dependency. But when you've trained your emotional muscles by pausing, by choosing, you bring offering, not need, to your relationships. Presence, not hunger. And that offering is powerful. It tells the other person, I want you, but I don't need you to fill my emptiness. I choose you not because I'm broken, but because I'm whole and want to share that with you. That's sacred partnership. But let's be real, this isn't easy. Emotional abstinence, like hitting the gym, is uncomfortable. It's deciding to sit with discomfort instead of running for a distraction. It's the discipline of not sending that angry text, for not replaying revenge fantasies, not spiraling into old, I'm unlovable stories. In those moments isn't always obvious, but the practice is pause, breathe, observe. Like a warrior trains in silence, we train in stillness for emotional engagement. This kind of training literally rewires your brain. Psychologically, when we resist impulsive emotional reactions, we strengthen our prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO, responsible for decision-making, regulation, looking ahead. Over time, this gives us more control. It gets easier to respond wisely. Even when stressed, abstinence builds this. Every time you choose not to feed a harmful emotion, you're reprogramming your mind. You're teaching it that discomfort isn't fatal, that feeling something intensely doesn't mean you must act now. That pause, that's the sacred space where growth happens. A monk once said, when you feel that fire rise, don't rush to put it out or throw it at someone. Let it burn inward, let it warm your clarity, then speak from the embers, not the flames. This isn't suppression, it's alchemy. You don't deny the emotion, you use it, you channel it, you let it refine you. So, abstinence isn't being cold, it's containment. It's becoming a strong enough container to hold intensity without carelessly spilling it. This ability is rare, but it's what makes someone truly dependable in love. Not just passionate, but trustworthy. Not just expressive, but emotionally intelligent. Reaching this level isn't about rejecting pleasure or love. It's about honoring them by bringing your inner mastery. It's saying, I don't need to possess you. I choose to relate to you as an equal, with presence, patience, and depth. This is the soil where real intimacy grows, where hearts meet not in desperation but devotion, where love isn't a storm but a steady flame that warms and lasts. And so we walk, breathing deeper, standing taller, pausing longer, not from fear but from respect. Because how we relate to ourselves dictates how we can relate to others. When we talk about abstinence, most people still think denial, what's off limits. But for anyone on the inner path, abstinence isn't emptiness, it's a space. And space isn't absence, it's potential. It's that sacred pause between a trigger and your response, between a craving and your action, between what you expect and who you truly are. When we talk about cultivating relational clarity through abstinence, we're not saying avoid relationships. We're saying see them clearly, without the fog of your own projections and unmet needs. In a world hooked on validation, distraction, and quick fix intimacy, abstinence is a cleanse. It cleans the lens through which you see others. More importantly, it cleans the mirror through which you see yourself. What are you really looking for in someone else? A witness or a rescuer? A partner or a patch for your pain? Without quiet, how will you ever hear the difference? There's a deep wisdom in being alone, but just being alone isn't enough. You have to bring awareness into that solitude. That's where the magic happens. When the body quiets down, steps away from the usual patterns, touch, stimulation, flattery, performing, the soul starts to talk. And what it says isn't always easy. Sometimes it shows you how much your need for connection is really a need to escape yourself. A woman told me that after a string of bad relationships, she took a vow no dating for a year. Not because she hated men or gave up on love, but because she finally wanted to meet herself. I needed, she said, to know what my own thoughts sounded like without someone else's opinion. I needed to learn what made me feel safe without begging for it. That year wasn't a cakewalk. First few months, loneliness, temptation, self-doubt. But around month 6, something shifted, a new kind of peace. She stopped grabbing her phone to fill silences, stopped dressing to catch a stranger's eye, stopped twisting herself to fit someone else. She got clear not just on what she wanted in a partner, but on who she was as a partner. That's the clarity abstinence delivers. It's not head knowledge, it's a felt sense. Eastern philosophy likens the mind to a lake, agitated, can't see a thing. Only when it's still can you see the bottom. Relationships are the same. Enter them emotionally turbulent, and everything's distorted. You don't see the person, you see what your nervous system hopes or fears they are. Clarity through abstinence helps you tell projection from reality. You stop looking for a savior, you look for someone you can meet soul to soul, no masks. You don't need them to complete you. You want them to walk beside you, whole in themselves. But clarity isn't just mental, it's physical. Your nervous system, bombarded by constant stimulation, sexual, emotional, digital, gets desensitized. Like an overused muscle, it gets sore and numb. The emotional body, overstimulated, gets confused. Can't tell real connection from addictive habit. Abstinence hits reset. It detoxes your inner senses. It gives you back the ability to sense with your whole being. Ever notice how after cutting out sugar, even fruit tastes amazing? Same with emotional fasting. Abstain from performative dating, empty compliments, shallow intimacy, and suddenly, a real conversation feels rich. A simple touch, profound, shared silence, sacred. But you've got to be willing to sit through the initial discomfort. For many, abstinence shows how much of their emotional life was built on avoiding themselves. In that quiet, old fears surface: not being lovable, being invisible, being abandoned. These fears aren't there to torture you, they're there to be seen, to be healed. If you always run to someone else to escape them, you'll never know which wounds are yours to mend. A guy shared how his pattern of jumping between relationships finally broke after 6 months of celibacy and solitude. I realized, he said, I'd never once asked myself what I value in a woman beyond looks. I was so scared of being alone. I confused chemistry with compatibility, lust with love, her presence with my worth. When he finally started dating again, he moved slow, asked deeper questions, listened not just to words, but to energy. Most importantly, he listened to himself. Abstinence gave him more than control, it gave him discernment. And discernment is where wisdom in love begins. Without it, we're driven by impulse, fantasy, fear. With it, we make choices that honor ourselves and others. And think about this: the kind of partner you attract often mirrors the energy you're putting out. Chaotic, unclear, needy energy. You'll draw people who thrive on that. But calm-rooted, self-sourced energy, you start attracting people on that same wavelength. Abstinence trains you to cultivate that inner state. It teaches you to generate love from within, so love from outside is a bonus, not a lifeline. Chinese medicine talks about Jing, foundational life essence. It's drained by excess, by scattering your energy. It's replenished by stillness, breath, sexual restraint, inner work. Someone with strong Jing is magnetic. They don't chase, they attract through substance, not strategy. In relationships, this shows up as presence. People feel it. They might not know why they feel safe or drawn to you, but they do. Often, it's because you're no longer leaking energy, you're whole. The next step on this journey of abstinence and self-mastery is all about relational integrity, cultivating sacred intention. This is knowing not just what you're choosing, but why. Most people stumble into relationships, hormones, loneliness, social pressure. They connect without thinking about the deeper impact. Sacred intention changes that. It brings consciousness to connection. Every intimate act becomes a choice, not just for pleasure, but to exchange energy. Not just to be seen, but to truly see. Not just to take, but to offer. You need abstinence to really get this. Because when you abstain, you observe, you reflect. You ask the tough questions you usually skip in the heat of desire. Is this attraction based on truth or old trauma? Am I drawn to this person because they reflect my best values, or because they temporarily soothe an old wound? Sacred intention is about direction. Where is this connection leading us, individually and together? It's not about control, but clarity of movement. If it brings both people closer to their inner truth, it's sacred. If it leads to self-betrayal, that's a red flag. Rumi said, try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. Sacred intention doesn't fight change, but it doesn't ditch discernment either. It knows not all chemistry is worth chasing. Some energies are just lessons passing through. There was this woman, met a guy at a yoga training. Instant chemistry, easy conversation, lingering looks. But she'd changed. Years of healing, celibacy, stronger emotional boundaries. She was sensitive to energy now. So instead of jumping in, she waited, watched. And she noticed, while their talks were great, his actions were flaky. He'd disappear emotionally, dodge deep questions, be vague. The old her would have ignored it, hoped chemistry would win. But now, with sacred intention, she stepped back, honored the attraction, yes, but honored herself more. She stayed true to her integrity. That's the power of abstinence. It sharpens your inner compass, teaches you not to trade peace for temporary pleasure, teaches you that your relationship with yourself sets the bar for all others. Cultivating sacred intention also means being mindful of the rituals in your connections. How do you touch, listen, show up? Not just on good days, but when it's hard. Intimacy, at its best, is a spiritual practice, not something you fall into, something you walk into with devotion. And devotion needs discipline. A Zen monk was asked how he approached every interaction. He said, I enter each moment with 3 things: attention, respect, and emptiness. Attention to truly see, respect to honor their humanity, emptiness so my past doesn't cloud this meeting. What if we entered relationships like that? Abstinence preps us, clears out old baggage, past lovers, mistakes, old versions of ourselves. It makes room, and into that room, intention flows gentle, clear, unstoppable. The soul doesn't rush, it waits for still waters, then it speaks. And it offers clarity, not commands. This clarity transforms abstinence from deprivation to devotion. It's not about what you're avoiding, but what you're preparing to receive. To walk this path isn't to become cold. It's to become deeply warm, but wisely guarded. Not close, but selective. Not hard, but refined. This way, abstinence becomes an act of love for yourself and others. A sacred commitment. I won't settle. I won't abandon myself. I won't dilute my energy for what doesn't honor my truth. From this place, real love grows, not the flash in the pan kind, but the kind that roots deep and blooms, season after season, with strength, softness, and soul. When the body goes silent, the soul speaks, not with noise but with knowing. This whole journey through abstinence, it was never really about denial. It's always been about remembering. Remembering who you are when no one's watching. Remembering what you value when nothing's distracting you. Remembering your deepest needs are met not by constant stimulation, but by stillness, clarity, and presence. In the silence of abstinence, you hear the truth the world drowns out. You're not empty when you're alone, you're whole. Love isn't something to chase, it's something to align with. Intimacy isn't about physical closeness, but soul honesty. You've learned that every moment of abstinence, sexual, emotional, even digital, isn't a loss, it's a return. A return to self-discipline, to sacred intention, to the wisdom of your own nervous system, no longer hijacked by urgency, but tuned to peace. You get it now. Relationships don't start when two people meet. They start in how you prepare for that meeting. In the space you clear, the wounds you tend, the energy you build. Abstinence used consciously is how we make room for something deeper, something real. As the masters would say, self-mastery isn't suppression, it's balance. And balance comes from awareness of body, breath, emotions, soul. In abstinence, you're not becoming less, you're becoming more whole, more grounded, more radiant. So when you choose silence, choose it not from fear, but from respect for your journey, your energy, and the quality of love you're ready to receive. Let that silence shape your discernment. Let it clarify your intention. Let it prepare you not to escape the world, but to enter it with the strength of someone who no longer needs anything from it to feel complete. This is the real deal behind abstinence. It's not the absence of desire, it's the elevation of it. Desire refined, embodied, sacred, and from that sacred space true connection is finally born.